And good morning, good morning. Welcome to today's edition of Island Tea. It's the 11th of October. Don't forget, for those of you who are attending the Shades of Earth, Women in the Spotlight for Climate Change, that's the Garden of Rebirth event tonight at the Marriott. Remember, it's 6 p.m. sharp. As she said, by 7, you have to put down the utensils for the program. So go out and support. Good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Good morning to the regional and international diaspora. Good morning, Jamsta. How are we doing this morning?
I was just about to tell you my new name is Chopped Liver because I thought...
No, oh, gosh.
I'm just playing.
You saved the best for last. Hi, Jay Black.
I'm just playing.
Good morning.
What's up?
Boy. I'm okay for this morning. Trying my best to be my best. What about you?
I'm good. Just having some tea over here.
No coffee today.
No coffee.
I had some coffee this morning, but then I felt like a headache was coming on, so I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seemed like I drink too much.
So you guys drink coffee at work? Like,
I
throughout the day?
I do.
Okay.
So maybe I have to quit for a while.
So you're allowed to drink coffee in flight?
Yeah, you just sit at the back and you do what you have to do.
Okay.
Once you pull your curtain, who knows what you're doing?
Okay. Never spike it with whiskey or anything?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, not at all. No.
Not that you would tell me.
Work. No, I'm at work. I can't do any of that. Okay? You want to get me in trouble. Did you touch yesterday on the new leadership in Haiti?
No, I didn't.
I
no.
saw the article.
I did see. I didn't watch all of it, but I did see when the president spoke at the UN.
Okay.
I didn't see all of it. I think he was a UN diplomat himself. I think he worked at either the UN or the IMF or the World Bank or something. And he was the guy that they tapped to be president. But he gave a speech. But I didn't really see much of it. But did something happen?
They were just talking about leadership, and they ousted some other body because of corruption. And I said Haiti fought to get their independence and their right to lead their own country. And I want to say, without guidance from a big brother or a big sister, you see, and please, people, don't come for me. You see how can I put it? It just doesn't seem like they're doing a good job on their own without the help.
Well, that's by design. It's
How
by
is that by
design,
design?
meaning the Americans don't want them to do a good job on their own. The French don't want them. The Europeans, they don't want them. I mean,
So you're basically saying they're suppressing them?
Of course. And they're undermining their efforts because, yeah.
Oh, and this one is for Burl. This is from Loop News. I think I sent it in the chat last night. It says 1 dead and 12 police injured as riot in Martinique escalates. And it says a wave of unrest on the French Caribbean island of Martinique has resulted in 1 dead and numerous injuries as protests over high prices escalate. Authorities reported Thursday that a man succumbed to a gunshot wound amid violent clashes between demonstrators and police, which also left 12 officers injured. The island, home to approximately 350,000 residents, has faced weeks of turmoil fueled by rising living costs. AFP reports that from Wednesday night into Thursday, protesters looted shops, set up burning barricades, and clashed with law enforcement. According to the prefecture, the deceased was found by police responding to looting reports at a shopping center in Robert. He was later declared dead in the hospital, prompting an investigation into the circumstances of his death, as authorities confirmed that police did not fire their weapons during the unrest. Preliminary reports indicated that among the injured officers, 1 suffered gunshot wounds. Sources also revealed that at least 3 stores and several parking lots were set ablaze during the riots. Clashes continue throughout the night with burnt-out vehicles obstructing traffic on a major road in Fort-de-France, the island's capital. Footage shared on social media depicted a burning barricade on the ring road and projectiles being hurled at vehicles attempting to navigate the area. By early morning, firefighters were still extinguishing smoldering debris in the city. Schools across the islands remained closed on Thursday as a precaution. Earlier in the week, 4 officers were reported injured while dismantling a roadblock in the town of Carbet. The unrest stems from long-standing grievances among residents of France France's overseas territories regarding the high cost of living. In Martinique, food prices are reported to be 40% higher than in mainland France. The protest, initiated by the Assembly for the Protection of Afro-Caribbean Peoples and Resources in early September, demanded food prices be adjusted to match those on the mainland. In response to the violence, authorities previously imposed a nighttime curfew in several neighborhoods of Fort-de-France and Lamentine, though that measure has since been lifted. So you see, Burl, only in Martinique, not over here. But we don't want a violent protest. We just want peaceful protests. So only in Martinique, Burl, and the other countries.
I wonder what would, if that's even economically possible from an economic standpoint,
to have the same prices as the mainland.
I'm wondering. Which if CJ can weigh in on that with a text to me, that would be interesting. Is that something that can be done?
But do you think they have higher prices because they have to ship? The shipping
that's
part
what I'm
of
thinking, but I'm just wondering.
Mainland, it's like available right there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if maybe some kind of subsidy is in order to to offset the cost of moving stuff, because we were gonna assume that most of the stuff comes from France.
Boy.
Yeah.
But you see, these people stand up for what they want. I don't like the part with the violence in between, but they stand up for what they want. And then we know yesterday was World Mental Health Day, and a young 8-year-old in Bahamas died from an apparent suicide. So we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to mental health and the well-being of parents and adults, kids and adults alike.
Yeah.
And early intervention by the parents once they see the children aren't doing their best. Just to notice, because it hurts to see that the 8-year-old decide life's not worth living anymore, and he took it.
So it says an older sibling discovered the unresponsive male child with a belt. Oh my God, the belt around his neck hanging from the security bars of a bedroom window.
Wow.
The report detailed the sequence of events. The sibling promptly notified a parent, who subsequently notified police for immediate assistance. Wow. Oh boy, let me see. So apparently, so emergency medical services personnel responded promptly, initiated resuscitation efforts, and subsequently transported the child to the hospital for further medical attention. However, despite these interventions, authorities reported that he succumbed shortly thereafter. Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
I wonder what that was about. Hopefully, we'll get some more context on that later on. Maybe it could be like a bullying type thing, or maybe something.
But, I don't want to blame anybody and say this generation is thin-skinned. But Jamsta, we got called the most heinous names in school. I was called Corbetty Ants. They changed my maiden name, Moses, to Noses. They call me Olive. Yeah, I had all these names.
Noses?
Noses, yes. Because being skinny and having a nose that sticks out, let me tell you.
I think I'm going to store that one away for future reference.
When I was younger, I always said I was going to fix my nose. I always tell my dad, I'm going to
fix
my nose. Wait, we're getting there. I'm going to fix my nose because my nose is too big. And as I got older...
No, it's not.
Jamsta, hold up. As I got older and my nose started matching my face, I was like, what was I thinking about? All because they call me Noses. And the Corbetty ant is this red ants, but it's fine. So, because I was that skinny, and then there was this one girl, she would call me Olive. That when she see me now, she said, oh Lord, I can't call you Olive because you get fat. To be like, I ain't get no fat. Yes, I'm going in my dialect. I just put on a little weight because I'm aging. Exactly. That's all. Okay. But we made it through school, right? Yeah. I didn't think about going out like lightning or anything like that.
Exactly.
But I don't know.
But it has to be said. I'm sorry. Bunch of snowflakes. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
I'm not even,
I don't want to sound so harsh or be so mean, but
come on, you guys need to toughen up.
Yeah, they call you cry baby. They do. Listen, we had it to deal with.
Speaking of which, this was something I wanted to talk about earlier in the week, but because you weren't here,
okay,
to bounce it off of, I couldn't. TikTok now where is it? Let me see if I can find it. You know how this thing goes.
Yep, you have the stories and then they disappear.
Then they disappear. Let me see. I know. Okay, I'm looking the wrong place.
Hello, good morning, Jermaine. Don't let me come and get you. I guess he's laughing because Jermaine would understand Betty ants.
But in the meantime, do you know, right? You know that now I'm going to look at you and your nose is going to look 6 times bigger now, right?
Listen,
I'm
that was
kidding.
then.
I'm just playing.
I know that was nothing phases me now. Nothing. And that's why I try to tell young people, when you grow up, you're going to realize why your mom gave you so much licks, as we call it in the day, and you're going to understand how the world works. So when you're saying, oh, I can't wait to get 16, I can't wait to get 18, I can't wait to get 20, when you get there, you're going to realize this adulting thing that we all wanted to get to is not as easy as you thought it is.
It's like all of this year, when people ask me how old my son is, I've been saying 10, and then I realized I was wrong. If he's 9.
You were 8.
But he's 10 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
But,
what's his name?
Keto.
Happy birthday, Keto.
So I realized I was saying 10. I said, well, God, I was saying 10 the whole year.
Aging though.
When actually all last January and last December, I'm saying
the
10.
Gentleman is 10 until next year this time, okay?
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody he's 11.
But you ever notice this thing that kids do? When you ask them how old they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're always eager to tack on the extra year. Let's say now, let's say, oh, so you're 12? No, I'm 13. And they always say, I'm gonna be 13 in March.
Yeah.
And it's
they'll let you know.
It's like October. Right? Well, I like to tease them. I go, well, yeah, but you're not 13 yet. You're 12 now.
Yeah, but he's just projecting 13 next year. Like the American kids or kids from other islands or countries like the UK, you ask them in Canada, how old are you? They'll tell you like 9 and a half, 9 and 3/4, 9 and a quarter. I'll be like, these children just sounding like adults. You're 9.
Yeah.
They'll be 9 and a half, 9 and 3/4, 9 and a quarter. You are 9.
I know. Yeah, they like to do that. Okay, so I had this story. I just had it, and I let me see. I had to respond to someone. Let me see. Where is it? Come on. So TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, TikTok. I'll just say TikTok until.
Well, I'm on scooping this one while you find it. Diddy doesn't get a trial until next May. So he has to spend all that time cooped up behind bars because I don't think they want to give him any bail.
I know.
Just like how R. Kelly just tried to appeal and they just totally ignore him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny of all the black people falling. Anyway, but I'll leave that. I digress. Okay. So more than a dozen states sue TikTok, alleging it harms kids and is designed to addict them. More than a dozen states, led by California and New York, are suing TikTok for allegedly duping the public about the safety of the popular video app, claiming it was deliberately designed to keep young people hooked on the service. The lawsuits, I thought of this because of the suicide, because you never know what's going on. The bipartisan group of attorneys general is seeking to force TikTok to change product features that they argue are manipulative and harm teens. The suits are also asking courts to impose financial penalties on the company. Now, one of the things people have to take notice of, TikTok is owned by a company called ByteDance, a Chinese company, right? And the Chinese analog of TikTok is nothing like the TikTok that we get out here. It's all wholesome. It's about doing homework and all wholesome stuff. So this is why this is why I think it's important that parents and people who use TikTok really do some research and realize, now, why is it the very same TikTok that you use is not available in China? Because the Chinese government realizes that it is a Trojan horse of sorts, and there's potential for a lot of really bad things to happen, especially to countries that they view as enemies. I mean, take for example, think of a scenario where, let's say, you have a guy who works for the CIA and his kid has TikTok, and maybe his kid sends his dad a TikTok, and you never know what's going on with the software. There might be ways to get into the dad's phone via the TikTok he sends to. There's all sorts of...
Oh, that what you're talking about, because I'm just saying half of the things that happen or are done on TikTok. we can't blame them for that because
it's a lot of innocuous stuff. On the surface, it looks innocent, but why do you think the U.S. government, I think even under Trump, banned TikTok from being on any federal government
because the kids
equipment,
were following
computers and so you cannot.
Okay, so that would have stolen information, but on the other end, you have to look at the trends that the kids are following on the said TikTok.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff that and then there's that. There's a lot of stuff that's not necessarily wholesome, right? Exactly. I mean, sure, you want to go do a dance or whatever. That's
then
fine.
you throw the alcohol in your hand, and then you throw the fire. See what the firemen were talking about early up in the year.
The stupid challenges.
Yeah, and everybody wants to do it. Right now, it's the hot chip challenge. Maybe we should get the hot chip and try it on.
What's that one? Yeah,
It's a tortilla chip that is extremely peppered. I don't know the extreme of the pepperedness, if that's a word. But it's hot.
Things people do for likes, huh?
Yeah, or just to be in the doings, I should say. Because everybody wants to do what a new dance come out, everybody does it in variation and just post it to TikTok.
Now, it's important to remind folks that the American government has mandated that TikTok has to find a seller by a certain time. I think it was pushed to 9 months, so it might be sometime early next year.
Okay.
So we're gonna see what happens as far as that goes. Let's take this call. Caller, go right ahead. You're opening batsman.
Caller, good morning. You're live on Island
Caller, could you start listening to the stream? Oh, it's you.
Jamsta, is that an oh, it's you good, or is that an oh, it's you, why you calling me?
Yeah, I'm rolling my eyes when I was oh God. No, I'm playing.
Not at all. How are you doing today?
I am fine. It's a good thing I'm not like this new generation thin skin.
I know.
Good.
We can take it.
Exactly. But now to the TikTok and the young people. Jamsta, when we were small, did we follow everything we see? Why do they have to copy everything they see? Now, you see somebody going to put a belt around their neck and hang their cell phone over the bathroom rod, and you going to do it? What happened to common sense?
Cleo, that was on...
generation didn't get done?
Sorry, caller, was that on TikTok?
No, but I mean, there's a lot of things that you see on TikTok that is ridiculous. Like you were talking about the chips. You know how much people die from eating that chip?
Because it's hot,
because
right?
The pepper is so hot, people die from it.
Wow.
Why do people follow things just like Jamsta said, for the shares and the like?
Yep.
I mean, to me, TikTok and you know why all these things too? Because people are getting paid. If people are getting paid, some people wouldn't follow all these nonsense. But because you're getting money is involved, it's just like YouTube. You got YouTube, is nothing but pure nonsense on there. People getting paid to think nonsense.
Yeah. Wow.
And the thing about it is, when you look at this generation, right? Since the other day I was talking, when you see a 8-year-old and 5-year-old taking up their parents' vehicle and going driving because they want drive to Target because they want some candy.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know how that child made it safely. Wow.
Where at that age did we even those thoughts would have come in?
We would never even be in 2 zip codes over from that thought.
Exactly, because we're in trouble.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
There's something in the water. Must be this sharp.
Oh boy.
And the brother was watching a 5-year-old left school. Now she left school because her goldfish died, so she left the school walking to go to a pet store because she wanted to go buy back a goldfish. A bus driver had to pick her up off the road. At 5-year-old, leave school.
And I thought
she's
I was
serious
bad.
about that fish.
I thought that was bad as a kid. I remember I would get in my uncle's car in the garage, right, and take off the handbrake, and maybe the car might move a little bit.
You pretend you're driving.
Or get on his motorcycle in the garage and
leaning from side to side.
And I don't see him anywhere. And then afterwards he'll tell me, "You think I didn't see you?" But I mean, and to me that's
and that's the farthest you
that's exactly.
Make believe like you're moving.
Exactly. Yep. I think I got licks one time
and
for the cat.
We get behind the wheel and we go boom.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not pressing anything. Yeah, because we know if we touch
Exactly.
something, we're going to be in trouble. But I don't know. As you said, the water is different.
Exactly.
The kids are different.
This is a
Yeah.
generation I don't know.
I
Something in the
I
water.
would never. I would have
Guys,
never.
have a good day.
Yeah,
You
you too.
too. Thanks for your
I mean,
contribution.
I would have never thought of. Let me go inside and see if I find the car key and see if I can.
Yeah, and
I
drive
can
into Target. I
and
would have
drive
loved to
and
see her little self
that's
behind that wheel because it made the news.
that is insane to me.
I wanted to see the car was proper too
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
because the fact that she made it there and she had so much monies. Caller, good morning. You're live on Allen T.
Good morning. Good morning. Peace to you. I just called the topic you all are talking about. I just wanted to say one thing. There's nothing new under the sun. Just like what Jamsta says. The vehicles then were actually mostly standard vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do the clutch or whatever. Most of the vehicles now are automatic. Easier to just put in drive and go on. And if you look at your parents good, you could do it. But however, it boils down to the person who's in charge of how they control you, how to bring you.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that. But you see, the intent was there, but you didn't move because, you cannot do anything to mechanize it to move it. But these persons know, okay, just put the lever, you go on and drive. And because sometimes they learn, they see you, they watch you good.
Mm-hmm.
But when the foot cannot reach the pedal, pushing the clutch to make a gear is a complete different thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other
Yes.
thing I want to touch on is that some time ago in Lodge, this is in relation to what's happening in St. Kitts now. We had a landslide by the gut, by the hill going down to Lodge Village.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm just saying it publicly because I think some kind of research should go into it because it is not the first time. Some years ago, there's also, if you remove the trees properly, further back up, you will see a carving inside there. Right. So you know that something is happening on that hillside. So I think something should be looked into it because lives could be affected and there's only one way around there. So we have to, anything happen on the block for a while, you have to drive right around the island to get out. If you know the roads in the mountain to get over, you could come over, but it depends on the condition of the roads. So that's just one thing I wanted to get out for us to look at. The other thing I want to address here is school. I know the government said that they deal with the Obadiah Primary School, but nothing happened. I think our children need to get back in their school. It's not the entire, I think it's the main building that gets burnt. The structure is still there. So I think it's about time we could get it sorted out. It was made mention that it will get sorted out and so forth. So I hope we could get that sorted out. And government have a lot of buildings around the place, and they're just getting out of hand. One that comes to mind is the building, the residence with the district doctor for the Molyneux area used to be. That place is getting really real bushy. And I guess you guys know more than I do what bush cause and if things don't think will happen and so forth. So you guys are the experts in these areas. And maybe some expert could call it, we have a place overgrown with bush and so forth. I don't know what is happening. So these are just some simple things I just want us to bring back. And it boils down to even what you were talking about. Persons who should know what to do and don't do it. But I'm just saying, I know, persons might know who I am because I'm into politics. But if they don't get it done, I'm just calling the persons for when the time comes. Give me the opportunity to get all these things done. That's what I'm saying. However, with all these things with TikTok and so, Jam said you to talk about it, y'all. No, they call geopolitics and so forth. We have to look at these things seriously. But at the end of the day, freedom of press, freedom of expression, some of these things come into being when they come to. But I left that for you to discuss. I was mostly wanted to touch on the issues that are really happening in our society. But it's just to also you all to broaden your horizon when it comes to the TikTok thing, to look at it in a broader sense as well. I'm not going to go into the discussion of that, but I just want our country to be peaceful, our persons to love each other, and to make sure we go in a developed way. And that's for everybody, for all of us to look at our country, because we are one people. We might have different way of thinking and different way of philosophy and so on, but I think we should always strive for peace in our country. Also, with the protests in Martinique, I know persons might be calling about why we don't do it in St. Kitts. We had it once. We had it a couple of times, and we see what the destruction caused.
But we don't
So,
need the
I'm just
destruction,
saying,
caller. We don't need the destruction. We just need to pick it peacefully. We don't
yeah,
need,
but what
and
I'm
I
saying,
clearly said that because I don't want the destruction because it messes with our economy, messes with us going forward.
right,
And it makes us use extra monies that we could have put into something else to rebuild what was broken. So just
that is
peaceful.
why you shouldn't call for it. As a former police officer, I know they look good. In every protest, you always find someone who wants to cause this. There's somebody who is more frustrated than you. And that is why we shouldn't. Because there are a lot of persons there who genuinely went for peaceful, but the other persons had different intention. And you know what happened? Why we shouldn't really call for it? The same persons who are less fortunate, they feel it the worst. And therefore, there are other means. Yes, we could do peaceful, but from a policing point of view, you could ask any police officer, people, those demonstrations back then, 93 and all these kind of things, yeah, they started out peaceful, but then things crept in.
You know, you need two hands to clap. You can have peaceful protests, peaceful or otherwise. You also need the politicians and the powers that be to listen.
Yeah, so you
right?
do it peacefully.
And
that's why I'm here now talking to the person. So,
in fact, if they listened before the fact,
talking, but protest. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm saying if they listened before the fact, you wouldn't have protests because if they listened and they really had the common and greater good at heart,
it would not have reached to a protest.
Exactly.
Okay, let me ask a question, and you see where I'm coming from. Do you believe there's money to be made in crisis?
My cynical take on that would be yes.
Who is going to
look at all the wars around the world? Who are benefiting from it?
The people who have shares in the defense, military, industrial complex, and
therefore,
you know,
when you have protests, there are persons who are going to use it for their benefit for whatever reason. And trust me, they might burn down a business place, but who's going to suffer?
But we don't need anything
burned. The person who
burned.
have more money could always fly out and get things. The person who do not have that is a problem.
Exactly.
And so therefore, what I'm saying, it is all conversation what we're having here. I prefer this. The people calling on the radio, let it seem as if it's just repeating it but nothing happening. Because you know what? Bit by bit, it is getting in. Bit by bit, it is getting in. And you know what? Even
really, you think?
You have to look back. I'm going to finish just now, but I just want to show you something. Like I said sometime on a program, the majority is not always right. Yes, it is good to have your voice heard, but trust me, even when you have unions and the process, things sometimes get out of hand, and it goes. What you wanted, it take a big U-turn and complete opposite. Complete opposite. I just want us to think about that. Let us not envy other countries that are doing their protests, because you see what happened. I showed a lot of the person in Martinique wasn't expecting even one single injury, but they had death.
But caller,
I don't think anyone's envying a protest.
No,
you know?
but caller, look, the deputy leader, the former leader, the new leader, and the deputy leader of the People's Action Movement, they went and picket concerning the violence. Nothing happened, nothing out of the ordinary happened, but they just let the government know that you need to take a closer look at this because it's getting out of hand. And that was quite peaceful. When they had the march, when they wanted to get rid of the previous administration, that was peaceful. Nothing happened.
Yes, I know. What I'm saying, I know what you're saying, but based on what you are doing these things for, things could get out of hand.
I understand.
Right. What I'm saying, if you look at those things, and if you listen to the political leader then, she said she wanted to do a one-person thing. And she was encouraging persons to come and do it peacefully, which is good. That is good. I encourage that. That's why I say I encourage it. But based on the, you see, I don't know if I'm explaining it good, but I'm gonna leave it there. It's based on the things at hand sometimes. And like I started off before, there's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes based on what it is, there's always something creeps inside there. And it is good to do that because you're expressing yourself peacefully. Peacefully. I encourage it. But at the same time, we still have to be mindful of based on what we're doing because, and that's why we have to talk first. Because if tensions are high and you're going to protest, I want to see where you're coming from. If the tensions are high and the emotions are high and you're going to do a protest, things could happen. Let us be calm. And that's what I'm calling for, calm head. Let us be calm and we can do our protest, but we cannot be hot-headed. Even if you and I talking and both of us are angry, if one of us don't calm down and both of us, what do you think will happen?
Of course. Problems.
So even though we're talking, we still have to be calm. And that is what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with it, but we have to calm down the temperature. Calm it down. Let's cool it down.
Okay.
If we do not cool it down, just what are happening there could happen. But I support, yes, you go and you do your protest. But this, what we're doing here, let us do this first. Because then persons will get to understand persons better. And the more people understand your point of view, the more they realize, you know what, let them do their protest. And you know what, I will join them as well. But if things just happen just like that, and that is where I think our political leader, what she did, she said, look, I want to go by myself first so people could understand what is happening. And I want to lead from the front. But I want to lead and let people see. I'm not outside here making too much noise. I just have a sign because the law provides for that. You just have a sign and just, letting people see what you're doing. So I respect that, and that is what I would encourage. But, let us not just, it's something that we really have to look at. Let us have these conversations.
Okay,
we really have conversation. We could go down with our signs, we could do whatever, but we have to cool down the temperature and it's just like, so for example, we had the homicide, the suicide with the young person. Sometimes if listening and talking with and not talking to, and this sometimes is a difference, talking to persons as opposed to talking with persons. You guys are smart persons. I guess you all know what talking to and talking with means.
Yep.
This calms things down. This brings a sense of, okay, I understand where you're coming from. We're going to deal with it. Talking with each other is very important as opposed to talking to someone.
Yep.
At sometimes. Some people are talking at someone.
Yep.
And we have to talk with each other. And then we could have all the walks we want with our placard because we're talking with each other. I'm not really angry with you or vexed with you, but I just want you to also realize there's a lot of persons, the other persons are coming with me to let us know, well, look, we have an issue here. Hear us. We don't even have to say. They have silent protest where you just have your placard and let those speak your words.
Okay.
Because sometimes you talk and you get angry. But if you have a card and you just don't, even if you want, there's some protests around the world where people put tapes around their mouth, but they're not saying anything and they just have the placard. And those kind of protests even are better because what happens? No one's saying anything to get angry. And they just walk with their cards, not saying anything, but you could read and you'll see. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
But what's happening in Martinique, we should never envy that. That's something we should try to walk away from. But we just have our protest. It is good, but not something that we know could turn into violence. So therefore, let us talk with each other first and get it done because our country really needs talking. We really have to talk with each other.
Okay.
Even with the crime rate, we have to talk with each other.
All right. Thank you, caller.
I just wanted to thank you very much for giving me the time to explain myself, what I was saying about the protest. I'm not saying I'm not encouraging it, but we have to talk with each other. So our message, you understand where you're coming from, I understand where you're coming from, and I think we'll go a long way to say that. Okay? So I just want to thank you very much. God bless you. God bless St. Nevis. Peace to you. Peace to St. Nevis. Peace to Constituency 7. And God bless Constituency 7. Thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you, caller. Contribution is welcome. And before we go to break, I was not inciting a protest. I was just calling out to, I would say, a colleague that says we don't protest. So I was just saying. So I was not inciting any type of violence in the Federation. That's not my intention. It will not benefit me. It will not benefit any of us. So just to make that clear.
I can't believe anyone would even think that.
No, it's just showing how...
A person needs to go have some breakfast or something. I don't know where that came from. I guess when you're hungry, you get hangry. You're not yourself or whatever. Okay, let's take a break. It's at 8:43. Island Tea continues.
Sounds like cheer is in the air. There are less than 10 weeks till Christmas, and CIBC Caribbean is getting ready to spread holiday joy. What are you getting ready to do? Start early. Apply now for a loan online at cibcfcib.com. Conditions apply.
Hey ladies, did you know that female breast cancer makes up 15% of all cancer cases in the Caribbean?
What?
But you don't have to face it alone.
Sagicor is urging you to be a breast friend forever and encourage your friends, your sister, your mom, even your neighbor to remember to check themselves regularly and get tested. Early detection can save lives. Together, we can be breast friends forever. A message from Sagicor.
It's the start of the week. It's time for a new perspective. It's time for Unfiltered. Join Azar Gums, lawyer and deputy leader of the People's Action Movement, for raw and unfiltered political analysis of the current events in St. Kitts and Nevis. Tune in every Sunday evening from 7:30 p.m. on Win FM. Join Azar Gums as he breaks the mantle and cuts through the unfiltered political noise to bring you the facts. Unfiltered every Sunday evening on Win FM 98.9.
Jump up in the morning. Caution. Jump up in the morning. So we go wake up in the morning. Wake up in the morning.
Jump up in the morning. Hey, well, hey, do you whatever floats your boat. What's up? So, interestingly, there are two comments there, and I feel like the same person wrote both comments because the two comments are basically the same thing. Anyway, but yeah, big up to Azad Comes on his new show. It airs here on 1FM 7:30 to 8:30 on Sunday nights. Unfiltered is the name of the show, and it's sponsored by Carib Eats. This is a good time to say, WinFM is a great platform to advertise your goods and services. So if you're interested in advertising with WinFM, give us a call here at 466-9586. There are lots of opportunities for just running ads for your goods and services throughout the day, and also you might want to sponsor some of our programs and so on. So give us a call at 466-9586. Christmas and Carnival is coming up. And if you're looking for additional exposure for your goods and services, Win FM is a great place to start.
Yeah. An excellent place to start. Not only great, excellent.
Excellent. So where were we now? There was another. We have a call coming in. Let's see what this person has on their mind. The person hung up.
Okay, caller, you can always call back.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Caller, good morning. You're live in Island T.
Oh, he just dropped out. I didn't do anything. Caller, try again. Your call just dropped out. I just saw the light was thing, and then it just stopped. Actually, I put it through, and then the light
just didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
It's on again? Okay.
It dropped out again.
Oh, boy. What's happening?
Yeah.
You got to fix that.
Try again, caller.
I have a comment here. It says, in the developed world, parents train their kids to be entitled, from holding a car to an 8-year-old being given phones, because the person that drove was an 8-year-old. And I like the fact that she told officers, the only thing I hit was a mailbox. Generally speaking, TikTok is not the problem, but how we develop our children. Discipline is lacking.
Yeah, but TikTok is definitely a problem as well.
Because the kids, they're copying everything.
Let's say TikTok is not the only problem. Caller, go right ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Hey,
good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. The problem, I think, with TikTok, well, not so much a problem, but it is a medium which a lot of people use. And just like any other medium, it can be misused and can be abused. Okay, and I'm not sure I'd put it on training, right? Because these media are extremely influential. Okay, we can't downplay the effectiveness in shaping things like opinions and culture and so on. Okay, so I'm not saying that to suggest there should be controls, because I think controlling something like that is worse. Put it this way: the prescription would be worse than the malaise, whatever it is. Okay, so I would not be in favor of putting controls on it. I think what the U.S. is trying to do with it is more a case of geopolitics and the Chinese influence more than anything else. And if it's not TikTok, something else would emerge that would be equally problematic. So I wouldn't bother with that. But I really wanted to comment on what Mr. Pell said. Because in a democracy, street protest is a right as long as the protests remain peaceful. The problem is that very often they become violent because of extreme elements that may have joined in the protest. And you know, passions are already inflamed there, and things can easily get out of hand. And that is the danger, I think, of protests. But there's definitely a right in a democracy. I personally don't like street protests because I hate to be in a situation where I can't control, right? And very often in protests, things just get out of hand, right? And there's a tendency to follow the crowd kind of thing. And but one thing is certain, they are effective. You can't ignore thousands of people on the street. You might be able to ignore one or two. Even those can make a difference, but the powers that be might be able to ignore one or two, okay? But you can't ignore thousands, right? It may appear so, like, for instance, in, let's say, Britain or United States, for instance, where they had all these thousands, in the case of the UK, hundreds of thousands, people protesting what's happening in Palestine, yet government policy appears not to have been shifted. But I would emphasize appears, because nobody going up for re-election can ignore something like that, because it would have an impact on how people vote. The thing with the protests, though, is that they can have immediate effect. I think that's the effectiveness of them, right? I mean, if government, for instance, and we've seen it, Kenya and other places, where there's a policy that really incense people, and they get up and protest, they can change policies. It's not a particularly nice way to do it, because usually it involves some kind of destruction of property and all of that, and even death in the case of Kenya. But the fact is they are effective, and because they're effective, I think they will continue. I mean, we've had our share here. I remember, for instance, in 1993, when we had the street protests. Some people say they were uncalled for, okay? The thing is, and this is a general statement, the oppressor always wants to tell oppressed people how to respond, okay? They cannot relate to the oppression, because they're the oppressor. And they always want to say, but you should be peaceful, everything should be peaceful, etc., right? Forgetting that there are individuals involved who are really passionate about whatever cause there is, okay? And so hopefully in our democracy, we don't have to resort to those kinds of things, okay? And where we don't have to resort to them is if the powers that be listen, okay? Because that is one of the problems. I don't think that once you have the power to do something, something, there's a tendency to use that power, right, and forget about whatever protests there are, right? And that is not a good way to really gauge public opinion. If you're not listening, if you're saying, well, you elected me to do a job, therefore I can do it regardless. No. Right? You can make mistakes along the way, and people can protest and to try to change the direction in which you're going. And that is why I think two elements should be implanted in our democracy. I think one is the right to recall, right? If some mechanism can be found where if something is really, really problematic with the people, they have the right to recall you. And secondly, something like term limits for everybody, right? Not just the Prime Minister. You can't tell me that you can't find people in our populace who can run the country, and you must keep one person there forever and ever. That's ridiculous. Okay? Because, I mean, if you look at what our leadership over the past couple of years, no, not couple of years, I mean, since independence.
But it saddens me that, and I'm going to go out here on a limb and say that I actually feel like there is not a single person out there who's willing to be selfless, a statesman, and who's willing to put the greater good and the common good first. As
all the more reason.
I
all the more reason
despair.
To change them often. You know, I can't think of one person that is so, shall we say, Mandela-like, Gandhi-like, to think of great leaders who can really make a difference right now. Maybe one might emerge, but right now I don't see it. Okay? You know, I honestly don't see it. And even if somebody like that were to emerge, I still think there should be under the guidelines of things like term limits and face recall, because power can change people.
It seems like all the good people must all the good people must have died off. I mean, I always like to talk about the reviled, well, at the time, I remember at one time, the reviled A&R Robinson, who actually did one thing, which at the time he got a lot of stick for, where he set up a rainy day fund for Trinidad based on the oil profits. And then, a few years ago, they started praising him. Oh, you know.
Yeah, but
these are the kind of leaders you had. And I remember they said at one point, he had said something to the effect that, I don't care if I get one term because of some of the things I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do them anyway. I am going to do them anyway.
Sometimes that somebody is going to have to bite the bullet and say, I'm going to bell the cat. I know it's not going to be popular, but I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And just do it. Okay? Maybe, and it can go both ways. Maybe it turns out to be a bad policy. Maybe it turns out to be a good one. But at least
your heart is in the right place, right? You could say.
It's not just the heart, right? At least in a democracy, you have a chance. If you made a mistake, if the electorate made a mistake, for instance, they have a chance to change it.
Okay.
Okay. But yes, I think we need some altruistic leaders right now to make some really difficult decisions, difficult changes.
Sorry, we're out of stock. We're out of stock. They stop making those. Those are obsolete.
Obsolete?
They're not making those anymore.
Just like how they emerged before. You don't think they could emerge again?
No. Everybody's too selfish and cynical and self-interested. No,
so
not going to happen.
Even one person could come out of the pack?
Not even one.
Wow. You got disillusioned and you're cynical now?
Not even one.
That's
how bad it is.
Thinking too, that the big issues are no longer there. For instance, if there was a case where all of us were still colonies, then of course we want our independence, our freedom and independence. That's a big issue. So, somebody might emerge to get that. Or, some other huge issue that they're not there anymore. That's one school of thought. So you ain't going to have anybody who can come up as any kind of savior or great leader because the issues just aren't there. Okay, it's mostly mundane stuff now, bread and butter stuff and so. Okay, so maybe that is what problem might be. But the fact is, we are still bedeviled by problems. And I think I mentioned one yesterday, the relations between St. Kitts and Nevis, which, you cover up and leave there to simmer.
We have a cocktail of two things that are, corruption and incompetence. Sorry.
But you'd think
that is,
the elections would deal with them, right? But unfortunately, I don't know what it is. Again, it's probably about power. That is why power should be there should be checks and balances in it. There is that tendency once you have the power to use or abuse it, okay? And that's where the things like corruption and the what's the other one you mentioned?
Incompetence.
Incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think though that elections can cure those. The unfortunate thing is that within a 5-year period, a corrupt politician can do a lot of damage. Okay, yeah. And that is why I say, along with elections, we should have some power of recall for wayward politicians.
Yeah. Okay, we have
don't work, like the Integrity Commission and Freedom of Information and all those things don't work.
Mm-hmm.
We see how we just discard the Public Accounts Committee, for instance. If those things don't work, then we're in trouble. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, we gotta take a break. Okay, it's 9:01. We gotta take a quick break. And no, I should let the listeners know that we had that discussion. Kay wasn't here. We had a discussion about the bank fees and so on. I reached out to Terrence Crosman at National Bank, and I was told that he was off. He's actually off island, and I was told that he would relay my message and my suggestion to another member of the staff. So I await word from National Bank as to whether they're going to come and do some PR and on their fee controversy people have been discussing and so on. So we shall see. And Jermaine should be joining us right after the commercial break. Yeah, just to shoot the breeze, and so we can tease him about his slightness and having to be tied down during hurricanes and so on, so he doesn't blow away and all that stuff.
Oh boy!
I kid Jermaine.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Inter-Island Elevators is seeking an elevator technician. The elevator technician will be required to visit customers in St. Kitts and Nevis and service elevators according to best industry standards. Qualifications include high school diploma or equivalent, completion of an apprenticeship program or technical degree in a relevant field preferred, certification as an elevator technician, 2 or more years of experience working with elevator installation, maintenance or repair, and a driver's license. Apply to info@interislandelevators.com.
TVC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TVC Financial Services. We are strong. TVC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
4 minutes after 9 o'clock, as promised, joining me in K, we got Jermaine on the. Jermaine, what's up? Jerm.
Good morning, Jermaine. How are you?
Morning, Jamsta, morning, Kortensia, morning, St. Nevis.
Okay, you pouting because we troubling you? Nothing but love. What's up? You know what I wanted to ask you about? It was interesting to see that St. Lucia won the cricket. But I'll let Kate ask it. Go ahead, Kate. The cricket thing.
What?
No, I was saying, I thought it was interesting that St. Lucia of all people won the CPL, and Darren Sammy talking about being inspired by Julian Alfred and all that after she won her two medals. But pretty interesting. Darren Sammy seems to be a very capable, what should I say, team administrator, so to speak.
I've heard his teammate said that, and I've heard other persons
coach?
from the team,
yeah,
not from other teams, said the same things.
Yeah.
Not well, being a great coach, but an all-arounder, Jermaine. Have you heard that?
Jermaine, you can hear it?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But not Kortensia.
Oh, not fair.
What? That's weird.
Can you hear me now?
Technology fails us
Oh boy.
at the most inopportune times.
I know.
So you hearing her now?
Doesn't seem so. Nope.
That's weird.
But it's okay, though.
It can't be okay, Jermaine.
That's technology, Jamsta.
Can you hear me now?
That is very strange.
I like the discussion that you guys were having earlier surrounding this whole thing about TikTok and so forth. Again, from me, my perspective on that TikTok discussion is generations come, generations go, technology changes, culture shifts. But yes, technology comes into play where we use it for the best of all of us. Let's take into account, for example, the whole AI, the issue of AI, which is now being used practically for all the wrong reasons, right? Because up to this morning, I saw a photo that was photoshopped with Walt Disney being flooded, when in fact that's not the case. How do we get our children to use technology better without this whole discussion of bullying and suicide and so forth? And I think it comes back down to training of the children for them to understand the implications of the use of technology in the modern age. Yeah, let's be frank. People make foods, company make chocolates and sugary beverages. We all get addicted to it. But at the end of the day, it comes back down to the individual who's using the product to better understand the consequences of their actions. And I think that's what we need to get children to understand here when we talk about TikTok and technology.
That's right, because they're even using AI to write their stuff now. Nobody's using the brain God gave us. Everything is the easy way out. We make it a more microwavable generation because everything is fast. The kids want the ramen noodles, that's fast. You just pop it in the microwave, it comes out, that's fast. GPT chat to help them to write their own speeches. They don't want the error, they want the best of the best, knowing that they didn't work for that. Some other brainchild is behind that. And even with the clothing now, nobody goes in a store and goes through the rack and see what they want. They go online, quick click, send it to whatever and do whatever. So it's just a fast-paced generation. And I don't know if all the technology that we have at this moment or have implemented along the years is really, I'm going to say it's really beneficial to them.
And instant gratification is almost like a sin now, in my opinion, because No one wants to work for anything. They want everything
Everything,
yesterday.
yeah. And I was even looking at something last night, Jermaine and Jamsta, where this guy had a filter on his phone and his niece was coming in, making her a grand entrance for her 16th birthday. And when he pointed the phone at her, the filter is an ugly face filter. So immediately his video that he was recording got an ugly face filter on the poor child, when that's not her face. And the fact that they make all these things to it's said to be better is to tell us that you are not good enough the way you look. So this is what you need to do. If you have a little freckles, smooth your face off. If you have small lips, plump your lips up.
And it's interesting. The Chinese government doesn't allow any of that on Douyin. That Douyin is the name of the Chinese version of TikTok, and they don't allow anything that's not about education and so on. So it's all
and self-worth to be on there.
Yeah, it's all cotton candy, roses.
Yeah, but we are allowed to have these things here to dismantle our self-confidence, that of the children. Listen, I'm glad I'm from the generation when all these things didn't exist. So I would want to say I know what are the do's and the don'ts, and I know how life goes, and I know how to be secured in myself. So, yeah.
But that's the reason why the Chinese and some of these want of a better word, dictatorial countries actually put a lid on their societies for these particular reasons. So now you have technology, it's influencing the mindset of the children. Let us be frank. If we are to do a research, Jamsta and Kortensia, in terms of the impact of technology on the level of education, not in terms of whether or not it is being used to teach our children, but the fact that the children are more engaged in the social media aspect of technology, we will recognize that there's some slip and slide regarding the impact and its influence on the outcomes of the children's mindset towards the education aspect of their development. And you will see it's going to be, there will be some significant impact there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say again, once again, instant gratification is like one of the biggest vices now.
Yeah, everything we do is for likes.
Yeah, and people, and then you have to argue that you have to know that that's one of the reasons I guess we have a lot of crime as well, because guys decide, oh, I'm not working for $400 a week. That's no money, but they'd rather go out and do.
But we have to get the education, and we have to put in the time to make more than $400 a week. Because if you're not qualified, and then too, there's on the other hand, somebody's going to say, well, Kortensia, I'm qualified, and look, I have no job. So how do we deal with that? Two sides of the coin. Caller, good morning. You're live on Island T.
Good morning. Peter, again, I just called back to do one thing. The person could understand me clearly. Lou, I'm going to leave you to do it. The difference between a protest and a demonstration and even a riot, and you'll see why I said what I said. Do it on radio so the person could understand. There's a difference between them. I'm happy that we're having this conversation about the social media, and so, because it is not this thing in itself that is dangerous, but it's the persons who are using them and how they interpret them to be. Just like everything in life. Even a pen, it's used for writing. You know that.
Yeah.
But persons use it to cause injuries as well, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I would just want to leave that.
Okay.
For us to also look at it to see. It is not sometimes the item, but is what people use it for. God bless you, Nevis. Bless you all as well. Peace to Constituency 7. God bless you all.
Thank you for that, caller.
Yeah. Good point. German, you there? German.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
I'm here, Jamsta.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you caught me in the middle of eating.
Okay. Taking a big bite out of that croissant.
That is correct. One other thing I wanted to touch on, Jamsta.
Let's take this call quick. Hold on thought. We'll take a call. Oh my God, it dropped out. Go ahead, Jerm.
Yeah. The discussion that you were having yesterday surrounding the banking issue, about this whole issue of blacklisting and blacklisting and the risking and the increase of fees and so forth. One of the things that we have to take into consideration when we talk about banking and what some of the financial institutions are doing now, we have to take into account the fact that the whole issue of de-risking. And people might ask, what is de-risking, right? And the banking and financial experts can go deeper into that. But this is an issue that we have been following for a number of years now. And the central bank has been talking about it for quite some time. And I think one of the problems that we have as a society, and this is not just St. Kitts and Nevis, is that when we see reports in the media, we don't necessarily seek to comprehensively understand what the issues mean and how those issues, and I tend to do that, and I tend to draw and go beyond the headlines on Saturdays in terms of inside the news. But people have to understand the impact of everything that is happening, including what is being done in Parliament. Those discussions are critical. We say, oh, people are talking, they're going to sit down for 4, 5, 6 hours talking. But we don't really seek to understand the implications of what is being discussed in Parliament. When we had I don't know if it was last or several years ago, but there was a talk about FATCA regulations, right? A lot of people did not pay much attention to that. There's been a lot of reporting about the risking. This is where the correspondent banks are now raising alarm, and there's risk associated with operating within the Caribbean region. So as part of their push, and this is just me explaining layman's term, to prevent, so you would have seen the report yesterday, Jamsta, that TD Bank in the United States was charged $1.something billion or $3.5 billion surrounding money laundering. The correspondent banks have raised the concern that the Caribbean region, because they don't have these FATCA legislations and whatever it is, previously, they run the risk of money laundering slipping through the cracks in their in transactions, right? And because of that, a lot of them started to withdraw business. We saw Scotiabank pull out to the Caribbean. CIBC was also considering selling its St. Kitts and Nevis operations. They've started to pull out to the Caribbean region as well. And certain other international banks would have started to do that. And because of this issue of them being fined, let's say, for example, one of the transactions slipped through St. Kitts, right? And the correspondent bank was caught. Now, you're going to be fined $1.5 billion US dollars. Do you believe generally that the bank would make $1.5 billion US dollars back from St. Kitts and Nevis within a calendar year?
No.
That's not possible. Exactly. So a lot of the banks are now raising alarms over the risk of money laundering and these other illegal illicit operations impacting their business. So a lot of them have started to pull out to the Caribbean region. That is why we're seeing now a lot of issues in terms of wire transfer taking a long time, increasing fees, and certain concerns being raised by local banks and so forth.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening behind the scenes that we don't know about.
That question I posed last night, do you know if perhaps this is one of the things that perhaps bank fees, at least a portion of bank fees goes towards maybe insurance for cases when banks maybe have to pay fine to the government or maybe sued by a customer, or maybe
Possibility, that's possible.
Okay.
But only the banking experts would be able to say that, especially representatives from the banks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But the other banks in St. Kitts, since we're on the banks, the other banking institutions.
That's a big issue when we talk about this whole thing about banking and the transfers and so forth. So TD Bank yesterday actually, according to the Homeland Security Secretary and so forth, that they've accepted that, they were putting monies above the security, and so money laundering actually slipped through their cracks. So this is one of the reasons why we see a lot of banks started to pull out of the Caribbean region at this point in time.
But for our local banks, the other institutions, with the exception of national banks, don't they have fees? And I know every time something happens, like I remember when the ATM fee came in, we grumbled a bit about that, and now these fees are here. It's a big thing now, but the other banks did them. We went through the same hurrah. Do you think it's going to be the same thing? We're just going to talk for a few days and then we're just going to settle in and adjust to what's happening?
That is a good question, Kortensia, and I'll answer it this way. Have a choice. Because this is the thing. Are you going to keep the money under your bed? Are you going to dig a hole, put your money and water it, hoping that it grows a tree? You understand? So we will just stock it up, and then we'll go forward with it. Because at the end of the day, safety and security, and people can't do without money. And this is a digital world. We want to shop online, regardless of however it is we do. We can't put the money through online unless we have plastic. So the reality is, as much as people complain, as much as people grumble, we still will fall in line with it. It's just a growing trend. It's the nature of change that society, and you study this all the time, whether or not it's in business, psychology, whatever it is. You will have people who will push back against changes, but at the end of the day, they will fall in line no matter what it is. Because what are you going to do? You're going to walk with a bag load of cash down the road, knowing what is happening right now. You're going to keep the money under your bed. You want a nice pair of shoes from online. You have to get that plastic in the shop. Let's be frank.
Okay, John, may we have a call? Caller, good morning. You're live on Island T.
Yes. I'm not sure I'm following Jermaine's argument. Is it that this region, something peculiar about this region, or is it that they're tightening up everywhere? Latin America, Asia, everywhere in terms of correspondent banking. Because
this might help. I remember when the Canadian banks started their rash of consideration for pulling out of the Caribbean. I remember reading that the Caribbean was the area where they faced the highest risk, where I think 21% was the figure I remember for bad loans. And when you think about it, you think, 21% is a small percentile of 100. But if we're the highest, that means maybe the other regions are much, much, much lower, and which is why they probably wanted to get out of the, ideally get out of the Caribbean.
Isn't that, though, a different reason? Because I thought Jermaine was making the point that it might have been connected to money laundering and slipping through. But if it's a case where they don't consider the profit margins high in these regions, that's that's a totally different issue altogether, right? Because you see, as much as they may gripe about it, you absolutely need correspondent banking for trade, don't you? And if it becomes difficult to move dollars, US dollars, or whatever currency across banks, right? It's going to affect trade, and it's going to affect even the dollar now as the standard, as the worldwide currency, so to speak, right? And that would encourage people like the BRICS countries to have an alternative to trading in dollars. Right, so I don't see them cutting off the nose to spite the face. I suspect.
Okay. I think there's a slight. I guess it didn't come over correct. The issue is not necessarily the correspondent banking or banks. The issue is a lot of not the indigenous banks, but those overseas banks that have been in the Caribbean region for quite some time. They are the ones that have found this issue. The correspondent banks as well, to an extent, have this problem because if I'm going to send a transaction through, but they will be using the correspondent banks, and to an extent, the correspondent banks, if you're seeing something that's a red flag, they will also have to raise that issue with the bank that sent the transaction through. Because at the end of the day, it is the same correspondent bank that has to release the funds. Because too often times, and banking sources have told me it as well, that correspondent banks will actually hold up the transfer if they believe that this is a suspicious transaction, and then they would require further information that will come up. But in general terms, it is the banks within the countries that oftentimes have the issue.
Yeah, but this is what I'm not understanding. What those things I would have thought could have been handled by whatever clearing mechanism in between, right? I mean, if you suspect that there are funds that are, if they are suspect funds, yes, you delay the transfer of them. These are specific funds that are suspect, but most transactions are not, I would think, right? And so to me, it seemed that you're using a hammer when all you needed was a little a fingernail clipper or something, you know?
But Carla, it goes back to the point as well that you were making, right? Is it profit over? I forgot the term that you're using. But is the profit margin really worth it? Because this is the concern that has long been raised. If you're going to be fined $1 million in a small society, or $100 million in society, in let's say St. Kitts, for example, is it worth operating with that profit margin, and you're going to be fined more than that within a calendar year or within 2 calendar years because one transaction slipped through? I think that's where the gripe is coming in with a lot of these banks.
So
because, like, for example, $3.5 billion that they were fined, TD Bank was fined for what they were saying is they allowed the transactions to pass through. That's a scratch on the bucket for TD Bank, because they were profiting off of these transactions. They're a larger bank that's making the profits. So at the end of the day, that's that. They accepted that. Now they're going to tighten up. But if that had happened, let's say within the Caribbean region, where you're going to be fined $3.5 billion, is that worth continuing to operate if these transactions slip through? And I think that's part of the thinking and argument that has been popping up throughout the years from our reporting on this whole issue of de-risking.
So then there's no connection really between the introduction of these, what you call nuisance fees, and that particular problem then. They're two unrelated issues.
That's what I was saying. That's for the bank and the financial institutions to come out and explain to the public. And Jamsta was asking a question whether or not that money is going towards the insurance to cover the bank's stability in terms of if they're going to be fined, whatever it is, which is going to cover. That's what Jamsta was asking. Possibility exists, but is the financial institutions need to come out and explain that specifically why they decided to increase the fees.
We ordinary clients really not.
And I just want to add quickly is that one of the issues that they may not necessarily come out to explain, which we've found that banks are not doing, especially those in St. Kitts and Nevis, is I don't know if they're afraid of the run on the bank issue, which has long been one of the concerns raised by banking experts. Especially we know one financial institution a couple of years ago had this issue where its systems were down, and they did not come out and give the full picture of what transpired impacting them. And that's rightly so, because the possibility exists again that you have a run on the bank. We all know what happens when there's a run on the bank.
Right. But we, the ordinary clients, really not interested in the intricacies of international finance and relations between banks and so on. What we're concerned about is we being penny pinched to death, right? And that is our concern.
I think you mean nickel and dime to death.
Of banking the bankers, the high-flying fellows. But when it impacts us on the ground here, in terms of the few dollars in our pockets, then we have to sit up and take notice. And we don't want to be holding the bag for the bigger fellows. That's usually the case of what happens. The poor guy gets squeezed, and the too big to fail people, they get away with murder, almost. And that is what, I think most people would be interested in.
So, caller, if an explanation is offered for the increase in the fees by the banking authorities, would that change your mind on what is happening and the mind of others that may be pondering, as you mentioned, the poor man?
If the explanation is reasonable, because you can have an unreasonable explanation, right? If it is reasonable, it would be nice, for instance, if the central bank had made some kind of pronouncement, since all of the banks seem to be doing it now. If central bank, an authority like the central bank, had come out with some kind of guideline as to whether this is an acceptable policy, whether it's supposed to be a general policy since all the banks are doing it, or it's natural competition where banks increase the fees or decrease them whenever. But an authority like that, I think, would be nice. I don't know if it's in their ambit to do that.
Yeah.
But they are a regulator of the bank, so I would think so.
They're a regulator without teeth, as far as I'm concerned. But we have to stop for fireproof. We certainly do have a situation where I think that the central bank could do to have a little more teeth in their regulatory remit. So we have fireproof coming up now. It's 9:31. We're gonna go take a quick break and come back.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Jermaine.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Oh, I've got this feeling to high five the sun, dance in the rain, and have my scoop of fun. I'm on my way to flavor my day with something new, and I've got room for you. Let loose and live a little, get close and share a little, give in and taste a little. You'll fall in love with creamery novelties of life and live a little. Get close and share a little, give in and taste a little. You'll fall in love with creamery novelties.
Enjoy Creamy Novelties ice cream, distributed by Rams Trading. Live a little.
Hey kids, drink healthy!
Reduce sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors, drink the more healthy way.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy, drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun.
It's chubby.
Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun.
It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way.
Well, it's about that time. Welcome to Fireproof. Good morning, officer.
Good morning, Jamsta. Good morning, Kortensia.
Good morning.
And good morning to our listening and viewing audience.
And I think Jermaine is with us still. So, Jermaine, if you have any questions at any point, don't be afraid to jump in.
Yes, so today I apologize for the absence of Mr. Clark. He has a meeting this morning, same time.
Big shot. Good morning, Mr. Clark.
But I know Mr. Clark would have loved to be here to basically share with the public what I have to share today. So today I would just like to mention again that the fire service would have received a number of new recruits, and kudos to the government, kudos to the chief for pressing, because back in the years when I would have joined the fire service, that was shortly after the separation from the police force.
Okay.
The fire service would have had just below 100 persons, and we were working a tedious shift system. It was a 1 on, 1 off shift system. We have since then moved away from that, because doing the 1 off, 1 on, we were working 72 hours 1 week and 96 hours the other. Yes.
That's some hours.
What?
Yes. It is some hours, way too much hours. Some might say that, it was workable because the fire service job is a waiting job for most parts, but we are active in the sense of fire prevention and other things that we do during our shifts. So after our staffing would have increased little by little over the years, we were able to move from a 2-shift to a 3-shift system. But in all the history of the fire service, I don't think that our ranks were ever filled to the capacity where they are now. So under the leadership of Chief Williams, Mr. Romel Williams, who, he sends his regard, and Mr. Martin really wanted to come here this morning to speak about our new recruits. And so everybody is just so excited about, seeing new faces in the fire service. And I am sure that those faces around are also excited, because it's pulling a handful of persons from thousands of applications, and I'm hoping that we pull the right handful. But as I said, Mr. Martin, Mr. Williams, they really wanted to be here this morning, but they are engaged.
How long does the fireman training take?
Well, for training, it depends on what they want to cover at the time. I have seen one of the training run for about 4 or 5 months. This one is scheduled to run for about 2 months only. They are doing orientation, and then they should be going to a 2 months in-house training. But training in the fire service is never ending. And the job, fire service is a hands-on work. So the more you do is the more you learn. So yes, on Monday the fire service would have received 17 recruits. There were 7 from the STEP program who were regularized, and 10 outside personnel. Along with that, over the last year, we would have received about 5 persons. So altogether, we are looking to start a training with those 22 persons now, and we are excited with the movement of the fire service. Because, remember we were here, I think it's last year it was, yes, when I was promoted. Last year, again, history in the fire service where all but one of the upper ranks were filled. All the corporal ranks, all of the sergeant ranks, the deputy, the chief, the divisional fire officer. There is just one of the station officer rank vacant, that's the inspector rank. And that right now, in terms of active firefighting, is the only vacant rank for the fire service. So kudos to the government for seeing us, for hearing us, for tending to our needs, because our people is the best resource we can have, because without the people we can't do anything. We can have all the equipment. If you don't have people to operate them, then they would be right there. So yes, it's forward movement for our fire, St. Kitts and Nevis fire and rescue services.
Okay, you said the training is about 2 months, and you said the duration.
Yes, that's what we are hoping to do.
Okay. Any of those fire officers will end up with you in Nevis?
Well, hopefully yes, because I have been crying for staff. Hopefully yes. As I said, some of the persons were in-house, so from my station I would have lost one person to go to the training.
Okay.
The other station in Nevis would have lost a person as well, so...
How many stations do you have? I thought it was just the one.
No, the airport station.
Oh, the airport. Okay,
Yes.
okay, understood now. Okay. I forgot there.
But there is a station in Newcastle, right, attached to the Newcastle police station, which we are hoping to staff.
And
So
that's separate from the airport?
Yes, separate from
Okay.
the airport.
Okay.
As a response unit for Nevis, because although Nevis is small, it takes some time to move from one point to the other. And having a substation out there in Newcastle, it would help with responses in the far end of Nevis.
You said take some time. What do you mean in terms of distance? Or in
Distance,
terms?
yes. From Charlestown, which is the only municipal station, we would take, give or take, about 10 minutes to get over to Newcastle.
Okay.
So to get up to the Butler's side and so forth, that might be about 15 minutes. So if we have a substation in Newcastle, and there is a fire in the Butler's Brick Lane area, then we can have a 5 minutes response moving from that Newcastle station, and then Charleston would be called out as a backup, but initially the fire service would be on scene in a much quicker time than we can get there presently.
Okay.
And I guess the problem in Nevis as well, it might have to do with you have all these villages that are like inland where you have to drive up the side roads. So that's part of it.
Yes, there are a
too,
lot
right?
of inland villages, but it doesn't change the fact that there is only the one station in Charlestown to deal with anything there is in Nevis presently.
You think that maybe does it make a lot of sense to have you basically I know the airport has to have its own thing, but you think it makes sense to have the Newcastle Fire Hall so close to another one at the airport? I mean, I just wondered.
Yes, it does. The airport is for the airport.
Yeah.
And
I figured you'd say that.
in major emergencies, the airport can deal with anything within a basically 2 to 5 mile radius of the airport. That's if the airport is not operating or if it's being affected. Say for instance, there is an area of land burning, and that area of land, the smoke from the burn is affecting the flights at the airport. If it's infringing on the runway so the planes can't land, then the airport unit can come out to assist. But outside of emergencies like that, they should not leave the compound because they are there primarily to ensure that the airport is able to operate.
Yeah.
So a fire service presence on the airport is very, very much important. It's the airport should not be operating without fire service presence. And it is so much so that even at our airport, if one of our trucks goes down, certain aircraft would not come in because they require a certain amount of coverage for that aircraft to land here, and that is what we are offering. If we don't have it, then it messes with the flights coming here to St. Kitts. So...
Okay, folks, you're listening to us. It's 9:43, Fireproof. If you have any questions for the fireman, maybe you're thinking of joining, you could call.
Yes, I do welcome any questions that there is. Also for the fire service in Nevis, there are plans to start the school visits and do more community involvement. I know, persons really want to see some of the officers on the road. And I also know that some of our officers don't like to be on the road, because it truth and in fact, if we get an emergency, just one call in the day could exhaust you for the rest of the day, according to how big it is.
Okay.
But it is necessary for us to go out and do fire prevention. It is necessary to, drive the different routes while we're doing our hygiene checks and all of that, because you don't want to wait until an emergency to realize the truck can't go through this road, is really too small. And you don't put yourself in an awkward position. Also, you don't want to wait until you get there to realize the hydrant is down a bit too deep, which is the case for a good number of them in Nevis, where when they were fitted, the standpipe we have, that's to connect to the hydrant in the road. The standpipes are about 3 to 3.5 feet standard, and some of them are down at least 5 feet. So, we had a standpipe constructed well together, make 2 into 1, to fit those. But you don't want to wait until you end up, say you're gone about 100 feet from the truck with the short standpipe and really is the longer one you need and things. You need to know exactly what you're dealing with, and you only would know by constant check. Because one shift might go and check it this month, and everybody ain't reading the book. The supervisors might know, but the supervisors might be engaged. The next shift is who responded to the fire. So it needs to be an ongoing thing. It needs to be an interchanging thing between the shifts, and we are working on it, and we do intend to push more time towards that.
Anything else to add, kind sir? Any calls?
No calls.
Jamsta, why are you laughing over there?
No, I was wondering where you are watching me.
No, I was just making sure. Well, congratulations to the new recruits. Congratulations to the fire service on getting the extra help that you need, and I hope you get more individuals interested in the service. As we said, we need everybody to fill every part.
Well, we do have a lot of persons interested, as I said, because there are thousands of applications.
Oh, wow.
Thousands of applications, not hundreds. Thousands. And it's the fact that, you have an establishment, because look at the fire service as a business. If you look at the fire service as a business, where if you have too much staff to pay and the income of the business ain't that much, then your business would be losing. For now in the fire service, we do not generate any money for the government. And hopefully that will change soon as well. We are hoping to be able to take the bull by the horn, if I must say. We would be able to ticket persons for infringing our fire hydrants, for blocking the truck while en route, persons that refuse to pull over.
Maybe burning garbage carelessly and stuff, yeah.
Burning without permission, because that is plaguing us as a department. I mean, you're calling the fire service for a fire, and when you reach class, there is just that decide to burn some fire in the back of his yard. But the person saw smoke coming from Tom yard and almost look like he coming to Tom house. So the car said, by Tom house burning. And the resources you take, running over there, you might go with 1 or 2 trucks. The chief might turn out as well, because it's a residential fire that was reported. And I believe, I am one who sternly believe that the government should start charging persons a little bit. But as I say, from a fire service standpoint, once our act is amended, all of those things would be in the act, where persons will be ticketed for lighting fires without permission, for the traffic offenses of not pulling over.
Adhering to the sirens.
Yes.
Okay. Quick question. I was wondering, do you think that they might add things like, like in the States and so, where So you have a venue that's having a party, and you can usually they would count how many people go in and make sure that the emergency exit is working and stuff like that. And if the fire service shows up and they find that maybe the place is overcrowded, and or maybe the fire, there's no fire exit, or there's only one exit, they close the place down and or fine them. You think those are the kinds of things you might be?
That is a good way to go. However, in terms of I don't think that was placed in our act as yet. Maybe on the next amendment we can look at that, but I don't think that was placed. However, in terms of events, any event that has 200 persons or more, there should be a fire service presence for safety.
And you should be notified that the event is happening.
Yes. So that's why officers would go out to work at the music fest events, some of these fests, and when they have the major sporting events or the larger football games, you would always see persons there working, because it is a requirement for the fire service to be present.
So usually have the smaller trucks there for that, maybe?
Either the smaller truck or the pickup.
Okay.
But the officers would be there. If they have the pickup, they would strategically place fire extinguishers in different areas around the venue. And just in case of an emergency, they would run to that to deal with. Also, I mean, if there is a major emergency, like for instance, if there is a collapse, those on the ground are just there to give an initial support, initial response, and to send information, accurate and precise information, back to the base station where the other officers would be coming from to assist them. So it is safety is a part of the fire and rescue task, and we take safety as seriously as any other portion of our fire service duty.
Okay. So, officer, I think, we have one. Yeah, go ahead, German. German has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, as the officer talk about all of these engagements that they've been involved in, what exactly do you guys have the number of individuals who you think would be suited for the fire service? I mean, in terms of capacity, because I know you talk about, you have more recruits and so forth. Do you think you have enough to deal with all of these challenges that you're facing?
The blunt answer to your question, Jermaine, is no. The fire service, as much as we are at our establishment now, we are still short. We are not near the number which we are hoping to be at.
Really? Still not? What? Okay.
Slow process.
We are presently, we still have a station in Nevis to staff. There is still a proposal to have an additional outpost at the southeast, which would have to be manned as well. Our fire prevention unit is understaffed, and because of that, the personnel from the response shift, do have to take up task of fire prevention. And then, as it relates to our working shifts, the working shifts for Bastia, for instance, operate at with about 7 personnel and 1 appliance. That is not good enough for the town area. And if I may say, Bastia alone would have more calls than all of the other stations. A lot more calls than the other stations, because the zone for Bastia.
How is this impacting your work, fire officer?
How does it impact our work? Some officers are disgruntled based on the fact that I may have 10, 15 calls a month to respond to because I work at this station. while the other station respond to only about 5 and the next one might do only about 3. However, there are officers who wants to be at, the faster station because they see it, they look at it for what it is. It is a learning opportunity because for every call you go on, it's different. And you get to learn different firefighting techniques to each response you make. But yes, it has negative and positive impact on some officers. But at the end of the day, the job has to be done. So we are getting it covered.
Let me ask a question. Do you guys, okay, you know, some people are going to want to work, in Bastille because, it's busy and so. But do you guys rotate the officers from, station to station? Because I'm thinking that's a good way for everybody to kind
get
of
accustomed to
yes.
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do rotation, we do transfers every now and again based on needs of different stations and for the learning process. What we were doing over some time back is we were actually rotating officers to the aerodrome segment, especially because the aircraft firefighting is a completely different task to any of the other aspects of firefighting. And likewise, persons who are working on the airport for a good number of years may be somewhat out of touch with vehicle extrication, the other aspects of firefighting itself. So rotation is being done. It was being done more rampant under one of our former chiefs, Mr. Hester Rollins, because he was very adamant that persons should be well-rounded. It is being done still, but where it is hard is where you have our seasoned officers at the airport that are very much trained just to deal with those aircraft, and the station is short because I think for now the airport itself operates at a staffing of 7 or 8, and it should be at 12 minimum. So it's hard to pull those seasoned officers to bring them out for training while you send up basically green officers, because if something is to happen, you would prefer to have seasoned officers there.
Yeah, especially at the airport, because you want to make sure that you keep your the aircraft that are coming and bringing people into the Federation coming. Yeah, so you are correct.
So yes, that's a challenge we have, but we as a fire service, we are pushing on. We are hoping to overcome all our challenges, and I should have known that number, which we are hoping to be at. Presently, well, I would have mentioned we would have started below 100. We are presently at 130. That is for operational officers.
Nice.
The number which we were hoping to get at was a whole 100 more, because if memory serves me right, it was somewhere between 230 to 244. That is to properly outfit the stations, and where we would have personnels to cover vacations and so forth. And I know that we are working significantly less hours than we were working the 1 on 1 off, but our shift system, still the hours are 48 for 2 weeks and then 72 for a third. So we, at the fire service, we still do more hours, but I mean, when persons complain, I just tell them, especially if it's senior persons, when you signed up and you decided to take this job, we were working 1 off 1, which was significantly more hours. So, I mean, things getting better. It's only getting better with time.
Okay.
And again, I would like to recognize Chief Williams, Deputy Chief Martin, and the other gazetted officers, my boss DFO Archibald and Mr. Clark.
Okay.
Yes, those persons have been pushing to thrust the fire service forward.
Good stuff.
And again I say, it could only be getting better. Yes, so in closing, I would like to again thank the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for recognizing the fire department, recognizing the needs of the department. I know our PS was very much hands-on and very much involved with us getting those new recruits. I would like to welcome those recruits and urge them to, keep a positive outlook for themselves and to keep the name of the fire service flying high.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. We've got 1 minute until 10 o'clock, so this is where we shut down Fireproof and once again wish the officer and his team a fire-free week. Yeah.
Indeed.
And
before we close out, though, I want to leave the audience with a little teaser. Maybe we can get back to it on Monday. We had a commenter that says everything that the previous caller mentioned, which just had to do with the government. It says term limit should be put in place. So 2 terms like the U.S., so 10 years. Well, the U.S. gets 8, and then that's 2 terms for the Prime Minister and 20 years max for parliamentarians. I guess that way it gets revolved and newer ones come in and, all of that. So that's something we can leave you folks to ponder with. I don't want to say you folks. We can leave the audience to ponder with. So I changed that. And we deal with it on Monday. Is it necessary for them to have more than 2 terms? That's 10 years for the Prime Minister and 20 years for parliamentarians max.
Yeah. I like that. Like the sound of that.
Don't forget to tune in on Sunday from 7.
Sunday, Unfiltered, 7:30 to 8:30 with Azad Gums.
Yeah, it's easy.
My man. Yeah.
I miss those mornings.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Thank you again, Fire Officer. Thank you, Jamsta. Thank you to our listening audience.
And everyone have a great weekend. Don't forget, join us at 11 for... well, I'm not sure if he's going to be here. I shouldn't have opened my mouth. But anyway.
Okay, so you can retract.
Yeah. We shall see how that we'll play that by ear. Okay,
Yeah.
so 10:01, time to close it down. And everyone have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Here we go.